My name is Lee. I live in Atlanta. I do some awesome work with Follow Up Boss and a lot of really cool people. And we've also got Caroline on with us today. Caroline, why don't you say hello and intro yourself, please?
Hello, I'm Caroline. I am here in Denver, Colorado. I am a product manager here at Follow Up Boss. So I work with our engineers on building some awesome new features for you guys and just love hearing all of your feedback. And I also work closely with Jeremy, who is one of our customer success managers. So I'll pass it over to him.
Thanks, Caroline. Hi, my name is Jeremy. I'm a Follow Up Boss Success Manager. I've been with Follow Up Boss for almost a year and a half. I live in Maine, and I'm really excited to be talking with everybody today.
Awesome. So since we've got you on, Caroline, can you run down just in general? Let's start with automations, because I know that's kind of the hot topic. Let's start with automations, and then Jeremy, maybe you can define action plan, and then we'll dive right in a bit more.
Sure.
All right. Yeah, so automations. This is a feature that we released a little later last year. The purpose of automations is to help automate some of your workflows that you're doing regularly in Follow Up Boss. So it's kicking off different actions based on like a stage being changed, a tag being added, maybe new website activity coming in. So it's a way to quickly get in touch with people when these key events happen. So one of the key pieces, perfect. So these are they're called trigger events. So these are the things that can kick off something in Follow Up Boss. So that stage change, tag added, even a calendar date, which is great. One of the key pieces of an automation is that they automatically start what we call an action plan. So we can kind of dive into action plans, but action plans are a series of events that happen after that. So emails being sent, tasks being added, that kind of thing. So we can go into some examples, but just kind of like a high level example would be if a stage is changed to nurture, we can kick off our long-term nurture action plan, which sends out a series of emails over the course of, let's say, a year.
Yeah, that's really great. And I think there's some confusion between automations and action plans sometimes, because action plans do things in an automated sense, in that if certain number of days the person's not contacted or whatnot. So Jeremy, can you run down some of the action plan kind of actions? And there's been some updates.
Yeah, we've added a couple of new things, and I think we're planning on adding a couple of more new things. Yeah, so an automation is the trigger, and along with the conditions in the automation, you turn on action plans. So action plans live here under admin and action plans. And admins can do a lot. Generally, action plans tend to get lumped in with, say, drip campaigns for just communication, but they're not just communication. They actually can perform lots of tasks. And that's where the automations come in to really help you remove things that you have to do manually. So an automation can create a task, and it can be to almost anybody on the team that you want it to go to. It can send emails, but it can also change the stage or add a note. That's a new one I'll show you in just a second. Adding and removing specific tags, removing all tags, adding and removing all collaborators, and even controlling other action plans that might be in use on the person who's getting assigned this new one. Let me talk about the add note one, which is pretty new. So adding a note in an action plan is kind of like a custom notification. You can create your message right here. You can even use merge fields to make this all encompassing. So it could literally tell you like, hey, and put the agent's first name first. In this particular case, it's kind of like creating a text template in reverse. Hey, agent first name, contact name, has new website activity, web activity, or something along those lines. And you can select who that note goes to. And it's a classification under notes. So it's either the agent assigned to a contact or the lender, or if the lead isn't a pond, it can go to all the pond, all your agents and folks who are assigned to the pond, or it can go to collaborators, or it can go to all of them at the same time. So they can all get this customized note. It's a great way of alerting people to the fact that an action plan might be going into place for them to continue follow up with someone in a particular capacity, or as an intermediate step in an action plan where it's mostly task-based, to make sure that you're again giving them a notification that there are tasks that they need to check on a regular basis. But yeah, the steps here are many, and yeah, and it may not look like a ton of variety, but honestly, these actions can provide a lot of power.
Yeah, I think we're going to dig in a little more on the add tag one specifically here in a little bit. Quick question. If you guys want to drop questions in the Q&A, we'll get to them. I'm sure we'll have a lot, so we'll do our best to manage them. But yeah, there's a good one really relevant to this. It says, is there an action for adding an appointment? And I don't believe that.
That's best handled. I mean, not directly. That would be best handled by creating a task to create an appointment. Yeah. And you can create that task to someone who has better experience or better availability to create an appointment, not necessarily an agent. So you could actually create a task, and when you create a task, you can assign it to someone on the team who you can assign it to the agent assigned to the contract or something, but you can also assign it to an individual. So if you have an admin or an ISA or someone who is not only has the availability to create those appointments, but is right in follow-up boss, you can assign it to that person to create an appointment.
And I want to hop in on that real quick too, because I'm a big fan of that. Just this morning, I was on with somebody where we wanted to send an email template, but we also wanted to make sure that the name was right, the merge code name. So it didn't say, hi, so-and-so 123. So using these tasks to potentially just trigger the agent to say, hey, send this email template, but, make sure it says like their name is right, and it says, hey, nice talking to you, or here's my just make sure it's relevant.
Yeah.
And so I think the task is kind of the go-to right now of anything it doesn't do. It's create a task saying, send this email template, or create an appointment if you set one.
Yeah, the task I was going to ask Caroline, the task name field here has actually got a lot of characters. You can actually put a decent amount of instruction here. Caroline, do you know the character count? It's like 1,500 at least.
I don't know the character count off the top of my head. That's a good question, though. I'll take that one. But yeah, there is quite a bit of space. And when it shows up in the lead profile, it's not like cut off. You actually get a few lines in there too. So you can definitely add kind of a robust name there. Another way that I've seen it used really well is, maybe the task is to have the agent give the person a call. So, the task name could be like, call this person, it's been, 5 days, but then you can follow that immediately with a note. And maybe in that note, you could put like a recommended, call script kind of deal. So you can always kind of pair those things together, because when the agent goes to the profile to check off the task, that note will be right there as well.
Yeah, and one clarification, those notes come through just like @mentions do under the lead flow. They come in as an email to the person who's being notified. It also provides a link directly to the profile that they're mentioned that they're mentioned in, so they can, in their email notification of that note, they see the text of the note and a link to go right in and perform the action that they're being asked to do. Let's see. A couple of more questions here in the Q&A. Kevin is asking, can you do action plans by date? Like Christmas, for example. Hey, we're going to come back to that under automations. You can absolutely set up automations by calendar date. There's a little bit of configuration there, but it is possible. We'll come back to that.
Yeah, we're going to dig deep on that, because I'm a big fan of really figuring out your action plans or automations versus blast type events. Because to me, if it's triggered by a date that's fixed, probably it's more of a blast. I mean, to be fair, if you want to remind your agents to reach out to people because it's this, or create a Christmas smart list, like there's 100 ways to do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're definitely going to dig deeper on that. And for people asking for other examples too, what we're going to do today is really focus on the action plans a bit now, and then dig deep into automations uses. We want to hear your cool automations. So we definitely will get to that. I
Yeah,
also
everybody.
want to throw a really quick poll up because I want to get a feel for um, who is already using some automations just at a high level. And Jeremy, you can continue on while people are filling that.
Sure. I also just want to say, everyone get ready to share. I mean, definitely, if you're using automations in a really cool way, get ready to click raise hand and jump in here with your ideas. So a couple other questions. Can you set up an automation to add a note when changing the stage? Yeah, absolutely. That's a really good example of, of when the stage is changed to notify other members of the team. And an automation can use the trigger of a stage change, and then the action plan that you would have, and so remember, these are the triggers, and you have to build an action plan. The action plan can be really simple. It can just be that one step, sending a note. And so you can have lots of different action plans, single step, multi-step, and etc.
Another single step one that I think it came up in the Q&A, but a single step could be just pausing an action plan too. So you could say when the stage is changed to nurture, just pause everything, or if something along those lines. So that's another kind of just single step thing that you can do here.
Yeah, that's a great example, Caroline. So if you wanted to do some sort of long-term nurture action plan, yeah, the first step on this one is pause all other action plans so that there is no other confusion, so that the customer isn't getting cross communication from multiple other action plans. It's going to create a more single stream of emails that's going to hopefully keep you in their inbox and bring them back around to you. Let's see.
Perfect. So Jeremy, before we get too deep in this, because I know we're getting questions, we're getting going, everybody's about to like, I guess we're going to give the magic automation at some point.
Yeah.
But I want to take a quick look, and I'll show the results of that poll. Pretty good, pretty spread. Although most people are kind of just poking around, so we're going to try to cover the gamut on all those. Let's take a quick look at a tool where people can maybe visually design a little more
Yeah.
what they're trying to do, because as great as it is to configure all this stuff, sometimes just having an overarching like, oh, we're going to do this and then that is the way to start.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a really cool, absolutely free way of creating a flow chart or a flow map, depending on what you want to call it. And so gluemaps.com, all you really have to do is go to the site. I have to say, I don't even remember if you have to register, but as soon as you pull it up, it gives you the tool. Yeah, you don't have to, right? It's just free. It's a great way to indicate and to determine what you want to do. And it's really simple, and it really pretty intuitive. It lets you create multiple steps. And it lets you get pretty fancy. I have worked with a couple of teams where we've really used a lot of branch logic with automations to like add a tag at one point in one action plan that branches off to another automation and so forth. Those are a little few and far between. They're usually a bit more straight line, straightforward, but I've definitely used them. But the flow map always helps. And the flow map can be as specific as you want. So, this is, label it, start it off with what you want, where the first step would be, so if it is the stage change, I have typing stage fright, so forgive me when I start typing all sorts of nonsense words.
I do the same thing. I'm like, if I can type this bad this early in the day, it's not
exactly. So stage change can lead to a note and a task. Oops, see, there I go. And add a task, and and I'll just remove this one, and then from the note, you can add sub pages here of what you want the note to say. From the task, you can indicate, you can just use this as, and it's a really cool, simple tool of creating a flow chart, which can really, streamline your thinking and help you brainstorm this before you start tinkering around in follow-up boss.
And not to mention training the team. So once you get it right, if you're assuming you're working with other people, once you get it where you want it, I think a lot of people respond visually. So to be able to show like, hey, here's what happens if you change the stage to nurture, then they get this and these things happen. I can't, it's just measure twice, cut once type of stuff.
Right.
Get it right and then do it.
Yeah, and then this is, like Lee said, this is a great illustration for taking it back to everyone else and says, this is what it's going to do. And it's on now, and it's all for you.
Right. But you still have to pick up the phone and call people.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Let's see.
and I'll mention one more tool. I don't want to confuse things, but for people that are heavy on Google or Google Drive or whatnot, there's a tool I can drop in the chat. It's called diagrams.net or draw.io. That's essentially the same type of service. They're not quite as pretty, but it's just a drag and drop, but it lives in top of Google Drive. So it's sort of a Google Doc. But this is a great feature, and you may have to have it turned on at the upper domain level. So if you're the admin on G Suite, you may have to allow it. But just again, another tool. I'll drop it in the chat.
Yeah, and for those of you who might already use flowcharting in Excel, or maybe you create them in Google Slides or PowerPoint or anything like that, it's all good. Any tool is good, but it's the design and drawing it out. If you're sketching it on a napkin, sketching it out ahead of time is going to help you kind of get a baseline of where you're going to get started and how it's going to morph as you start, and what's going to change when you start using the tools.
Cool, because I think again that the problem here, the biggest problem is that if you have 10 automations running 10 action plans and they're all triggered by different things, we want to just at least have a global view that we're not. We were joking before we started the webinar, somebody could get an email that's like, hey, nice to talk to you, and then 5 minutes later get a, it's been a while, we should catch up. So just go easy on the automations to get started,
All right, so let's
cool.
see.
So I think we covered action plans pretty well, and obviously they've been around for a while, so I think people get those. So Caroline, do you want to run us through maybe just the stock automations that are already in people's, like they come with Follow Boss, so these are already in your account?
Yeah, so when you go to the automations page, you're going to see that I think there's about 12 in there now that we've preloaded into your account, and we've made them like general enough that you can just turn them on. Definitely get in there and kind of see what they're doing, just so you know what communications are going out. But we'll cover some that are like kind of those more simple use case ones. So Jeremy, if you want to click into the bad number. So this one is triggered off of a tag being added. It can be a variety of, it's based off of bad number, bad phone number. We put a few options in there, so your agents don't have to remember exactly what tag it is. But when a lead is tagged bad number, it automatically starts the action plan that sends out 2 emails spaced a few days apart, that's working to communicate with them via email and engage with them over email, since obviously we don't have a good number for them. So this is a good one, that's pretty easy to implement into your workflow. You can say, hey, team members, when we get a bad number, let's tag them bad number. And we're going to do that follow-up from there for you. So you don't have to set tasks and reminders in a week to follow up with them again. This is just kind of out of the box, ready to go. So that's the bad number automation. If you want to go back and actually, and just to kind of zoom out, all you really need to do from this page is to enable it, you just need to click that little toggle in the top right or right here in the list. So you just turn it on and off right from here.
Yeah, once you turn it on, it jumps to the top of the page. So as soon as I toggle the switch over, bad number moves up to the top.
Yeah, so you'll always know what's running at whatever time. The other great thing about this kind of zoomed out view is it's going to give you the times run. This is just our demo account, so we don't have this running for anyone, but you'll see that this has run 15 times, for example. And so you can click on the number 15 under bad number, and it's going to bring you to a list of those people. So, another option from there would be to like batch email them, or maybe at some point you're changing their stage to something different. So just some other kind of functionality there. Another one, Jeremy, let's dig into the nurture long-term buyers. So this is another one that's kind of simple out of the box. This is based off of that stage change. So when the stage is changed to nurture, we're kicking off this buyer long-term nurture plan. So the other thing that you can do here is you can add multiple triggers. So, part of automations and, as we were just talking about with kind of like those flow charts, we want to get these like processes down really tight. That said, sometimes things can happen a variety of ways. So you can add multiple triggers here. So you could say when the stage is changed to nurture, or the tag nurture is added. So we're kind of covering our bases in two ways. Either one of those things will then kick off this like buyer long-term nurture plan. And if you click into that plan, Jeremy, I think we were there already. But what that's going to do is it's going to pause all the other action plans. You won't have that conflicting information. And then it's going to kick off these series of emails. What's great with all of these action plans and automations that we've added to your account is these are totally customizable. So if you want to come in here and switch up some of the content of the emails, or if you want to add some of those notes in here, add different tasks to go along with it, these are totally customizable. So, we put these in here just meant to like give you a really good jumping off point for getting started here. If you scroll to the bottom also, you'll see that, we've kind of ended, there's a variety of ways you can end these, but Jeremy touched on it earlier with the note. A good thing to do at the bottom of one of these like longer action plans is, you can add a task that, says this is the end of the action plan. At this point, it might even, behoove you to add a final step in there that changes the stage to closed at some point or something like that. But it's good to kind of wrap these up so that there is like a true ending to it. And maybe your ending is just to like have a check-in. It's adding that note, it's adding a task, it's changing the stage. But, maybe if you were working on something like for like the hot prospect, the final step of the hot prospect action plan could be to change that stage to back to, like 3 months or something like that.
This one?
Yeah, this is other, yeah, perfect. So this one is based off of changing the stage to a hot prospect. So when you're in there, we're changing the stage to hot prospect. This one, we have conditions in here. So we haven't touched on this quite yet, but conditions are a way to filter people out of an automation. So you can say, when I change the stage to hot prospect, and if the lender is empty, then I want this action plan to happen. So this is kind of that like next level of detail that you can add in here. Some other conditions that are used pretty often are like last communication. So if I'm changing the stage to nurture and last communication is over 14 days ago, then do this specific action plan. So it's a way just to make this more and more customized. So you're getting that like very specific content to your lead without it seeming as automated.
Exactly. So it's going to like drill down even further. It's not just the stage change. If the stage change gets inadvertently moved to nurture, it's also going to look for if there has been communication on that lead in the last 14 days and hold off. There's a question that builds off what we're talking about. Dave is asking about automations that can be set to a condition of no contact after X number of days or something similar, but the automation can't fire off of that. So the question is, could an automation be built off of a stage change to lead when they first come in with 5 days of no contact and then changing the stage to unresponsive and run long-term nurture? That's a convoluted, I mean, the question's a little complicated, but if I've read it twice and Dave, I can answer that, yes, you can do that. What you're going to do but manage those time frames is to set up your action plan appropriately. And that's another thing that you can do. Your action plan can actually be a clock, depending on when you set up the next action. So for instance, in this buyer long-term nurture action plan, let's actually just look at the plan itself. So all of these, you can see when things happen over here on the right-hand side, and those can be edited just by updating the number of days after the previous step that you want things to run. So for instance, if, and the other thing I'm going to mention is that action plans by default come with the pause action plan when person is contacted, check mark ticked off. That means that if there is inbound communication from this person and they are a new lead and there has been no communication previously, this plan will stop. and pause, I should say. It can be unpaused. That's another great indication. So if it does lead to a one-to-one conversation, the action plan isn't going to continue to fire. But to answer your question more specifically, Dave, so yes, you can have, an action plan built when a lead comes in. If a brand new lead is coming in, you want to put a clock on it. Those action plans won't technically be fired through the automations function. They fire through your lead flow. And we don't have lead flow in this demo account, but you would assign an action plan like that to your initial lead flow screen. I can pull up another demo account to make sure that everyone's aware of what I'm talking about. So here's lead flow, and it's over here under the action plan setting where you would set that. You could create an action plan that has that clock running. So so an action plan could keep looking for that first communication. And if there is if there's no reply to your outreach, then you can have it happen that 5 days after you've had that lead in your system, it can switch right over to unresponsive or nurture and flip it right into the long-term nurture action plan. And that's kind of a long answer to a long question, but
well, Jeremy, let's tack on to that what we talked about earlier too. The idea
yes.
that, in my opinion, all action plans should do something at the end, whether it's a task to say the action plan's over, or I like to have it apply a tag that just says, either Zillow lead did not convert, or action plan complete, or whatever that is. But I feel like the end of every action plan should apply a tag. And then you can always use that tag to do something, most notably fire an automation to do something, remind the agents,
Yep.
put them on a new action plan, change the stage, put them in a pond, whatever that is.
And so I present to you this very generic action plan that I end up showing almost every new customer I talk to as an example of what an action plan can do basically. This is a really simple generic action plan. We have a version of this built into any new Follow Up Boss account. If you've already deleted it, that's fine. But look at the end, the very last thing here, and I kind of lucked out by this because I was going to do this, but it's already in here. So on the 13th day, have a task, action plan ended, move to unresponsive. And in this particular case, this task could actually be more automated by a note to the agent, and then just switching the step. So this could end up being technically edited to like a note. And then down here, it could be literally changing the stage to unresponsive. And so in this particular action plan, we've changed the actual task to two different things, but the same, but you're getting the same type of action. They're getting the same type of endpoint. Yeah, I mean, I can't agree more with what Lee actually introduced me to this idea about, I don't know, 6 months ago when one of our first times we worked together, that having that task be the endpoint of an action plan, or having a tag added that is now filterable and can be built into a smart list, any type of identifier to know that, okay, they've done that, that action plan's over, my one-to-one outreach may or may not have been successful. Let's make sure that that person moves on to the next step.
And I know it's almost too simple, and everybody wants, especially talking about automations, wants this fancy, setup and all these crazy things that do this. But what if every action plan at the end applied a tag that was like action plan complete, and then you had a smart list that's action plan complete tag. And so there's just a list of people that need something. And something we talked about earlier, Jeremy, too, that I want to share with people is, to me, a smart list doesn't always mean like call this guy. I mean, I hate to say that when people's agents might be on and they've been trying to get them to call people because they're in a smart list. But like, to me, getting somebody in a smart list just means lay eyes on them. Oh, I talked to this guy yesterday. Cool. He's good. But just, having a tag like that, I mean, that's what I would do. I would set up a tag that said action plan complete, have a smart list where it's like, cool, these are the people that need something done. We need to move them to long-term nurture. We need to apply a different action, whatever that thing is. But I think that's another really simple use that's probably overlooked.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever you want them to do, whether you want to start something else automated, where you want to put them in a pond, reassign them back to ISAs as second chance leads, all sorts of different things that you can do there. Got lots of other questions, and a couple of pertain to what we're talking about. One real basic question about action plans is how to see all the steps in an action plan. And that is a good kind of real basic tutorial. So you can always go into your admin menu, and everybody has the capability of going into admin menu and looking at the action plans and seeing what's inside them. You can preview action plans from the library. Only admin users have the ability to create action plans. So if there are folks out there who have agent permissions and you have a brainstorm about something you want to put in there, collaborate with your admins, build your email templates, and create your action plan with help from your admins. But you can always come here to see the content of the action plans. If you're on a person, let's just go to a person. Ooh, Doritos are delicious. Excellent. So under action plans, where is it on here? I passed it. There it is. You can click into the action plan, and you can click on where's my preview button, Caroline?
Yeah, what's up with that?
So if you're in here, oh, I'm sorry, if it's running, if an action plan is running, I will just start one here so we can see if it's a reassign lead activation plan and it is running, you can always click on it and see what the next steps are. That's what I was looking for. Sorry, Caroline, it's not your fault.
That's okay. I was answering a question.
I'll tell you what too, Jeremy, if you go back to the admin action plans, which again, only admin users and owner users can see, but the eyeball, if you just click on the eyeball, this is kind of a new feature that slipped in. I mean, it's not new, but it wasn't there a long time ago. That actually provides a pretty decent layout of all of them. And pro tip, you can hit print if you're in Chrome, or really in any browser, but in Chrome, you can hit the menu and hit print and print it to a PDF.
Yep.
So you could print this out or add it to a manual. But yeah, this is a great feature that, again, a lot of us old school users don't even know because it wasn't there before.
And I think Jeremy touched on it, but this is visible to all of the agents. So everyone can see what's in the action plans.
They're visible, they just can't edit them.
Exactly.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, which is great because you can plan accordingly. If a step is coming up, you know exactly what's in that email.
Right, under automations, yeah, you can still click into the action plan here too and see what it says, even though you this is a demo account, so I'm an admin and I click on here. I have edit capabilities, but you still be able to see it. So that's how you do that. Let's see, back up to the top.
Can you hit, oh, sorry. Can you go back to action plans for a split second and just show the library? We had a question and I wanted people to also just see it.
Maybe I haven't read that question yet.
No, so yeah, so there's an action plan library as well. Just be sure that when you add these or look through them, that you actually look at all of them, because some of them do say, thanks for contacting our team. So just make sure, if you're going to check them out or if you're going to apply them,
right.
You don't just go adding them willy-nilly, but there are some good ones in there for sure. Here's
a good example. There's a lot of merge fields in here. So they built it for the whole team, but they still included their own team's website. So that's something that you'd want to change. You want to change that link to your own website, and make sure that if you preview every action plan, even if it's not one coming from the library that could have another team's information in it. If you're still getting used to using action plans, if you're new to Follow Up Boss, before you embed any action plan, even the simplest one, preview it to see what it says. And one of the things that we always recommend is, like Lee said, they're all customizable. Make it sound like you. Even if the template and the actual intent of the message is perfect, if it's got wording that you would never use in your own messages, and when people talk to you, they're like, you don't sound like your emails. Not that we sound like our emails, but you know what I mean. Brand it, put your own stamp on it.
Even if that's just adding a link back to your website or something like that, and you can drive traffic there. There's just simple things you can do to really make it your own.
Especially if you're using the Pixel. Not that we're going to get into Pixel, but just saying, Pixel.
So, can use an automation have a timestamp added within a custom field? There would have to be a task for that. You would have to you could do that. There would be a task to say add, change stage, so on and so forth. Then the task would be to the agent, note day and time stage was changed. There's no way to pull that data right out of Follow Boss and into a custom field. Let's see. There are plans to add collaborators to the merge fields. Huh.
I know. That's a good question.
That is a good question.
I'll write that one down.
Yeah.
Guess what? The product team is on.
Yeah.
Not to mention that.
No, well, yeah, Caroline's on that one. Good question, Thomas.
What we do have
automations-
though, I wanted to point out under the settings field, under my settings though, we do have kind of that agent specific merge field though that
Yes.
you can use. So this is a kind of new feature if we haven't seen that yet.
You know what? I'm glad you mentioned that, Caroline. That is such a good. I've used it with people for potentially like a unique address if need be, or an agent website. Or if you have like a certain website that each agent has their own page, this is a way that you could use that as a merge code. What's the other use? Oh, like
Another
a
tool.
Calendly.
Yeah, Calendly. That's actually, wasn't that why we created this in the first place, Caroline? So we could use it internally. Yeah, we wanted something like this internally. So we created this merge field to include Calendly links for our team to be able to get bookings.
Uber clear, people missed it because I think we all know this feature well and got excited.
So
under your settings, there is a merge field that is unique to that user.
Yep.
So whatever link or words or whatever each agent or each user puts into that link, they can then use as a merge code, like in an email template.
It's also available to admins to add for the team under the team settings. It's part of the edit field. If you're changing people, you can click into your admin and teams. And if it's something you want to use team wide and you know what that link's going to be for each person, you have the ability to change that right here as an owner or admin.
That's awesome. I did not know that.
And let's see. Oh, and let me just show you how to use, because it does not say user merge field as the merge field. When you're creating a template, the merge field itself says agent merge field because it pertains to the agent. So that's, if you want to put it into a template, that's how you find it.
It's also got the _1, which makes me hopeful there might be more than one day. But if you're in the habit of typing your own merge fields based on the underscores, don't do it on that one.
Right. Yeah, use the drop down and pick them out. But let's see. Let's go to another couple of questions. There's a few questions in here that aren't necessarily on the topic of today. We'll try to get to them at the end if we can. But let's see.
Why don't we tackle Richard's question about being a solo agent?
Yeah, let's do that. A
lot of times we do a lot of team stuff, and your team can do this. But as a solo agent, and I can speak a little bit to that, but I'd love for you guys to expand. For me, I see so many people that aren't using the lead flow action plan. So an action plan that applies automatically when a new lead comes in, and that's typically based on the source or the actual lead flow.
Yep.
But to me, as a solo agent, utilizing an auto response that just says, hey, got your inquiry, or hey, is there a good time to talk? Just automating that, being a solopreneur, being only one person, if you're out showing houses and people don't get responded to quickly, especially in this, you got to claim the lead, now, or you don't get it type of environment, just building in some follow-up, for sure. And then, frankly, I don't know, do you guys have things to add to that or other automations for a solo agent?
I think
you go, Caroline. I've been talking enough.
I think I see some solo agents really like utilizing the heck out of tasks and getting some really good tasks lists for themselves. You know, you're not at your computer all day. When you get to your computer, it's like, what are the things that I need to do right in this moment? So I think the task feature can be really powerful for solos, which of course can be worked into any of your action plans too. So, you know, setting up automations based off of like new activity. You can send off that automatic email that goes out that says, hey, I saw you were looking at new properties, this and that. But then at the end of the day, or when you're at your computer again, you can pair it with that task that says like, give this person a call. And so you can just work off of that task list for yourself.
Yeah, this is actually a really great one for solo agents. You know, it's going to find new property inquiries no matter. So if you're linked to one online lead source or multiple online lead sources, if you have Zillow and your own website, or Ylopo, Zillow and your own website, wherever that new inquiry comes from, it's going to fire into follow-up boss, and it's going to this one has a condition that it has to be an older lead for this particular automation to switch. This is adjustable, like I said, configurable. If you want this to be 1 day or 2 days or 0, you can just remove it. And then the action plan will start new inquiry for an existing lead. So it's going to resurface those leads back to you automatically, in case you don't have a lead manager who can, you know, tell you, hey, or engage with the people themselves. So you're busy, you're out there, and getting the tasks and so forth from this action plan can be really helpful. Let me drive down to it. So yeah, it starts off with a task, and it sends a couple of automated emails, but it's going to keep prompting you. This person was live back online. This person is still looking. And that's a good indication that they may not be working with somebody else yet.
And I also think those action plans if you're a solo agent, I would really focus on the verbiage of your email templates and try to ask questions, try to have good calls to action so that in essence, you're getting responses. So if your email template says, you know, hey, you know, I know we connected through our website a while back, you know, have you seen any properties recently you want to take a look at? And then you get, you know, oh, we're just looking, or yeah, we did. That's good, funny timing. We were just on your website. So really being smart about asking a question so that you're fielding inbound stuff more so than just pushing out a bunch of emails to people.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, look through the action plans, make them sound like you, make your emails conversational, and ask open-ended questions that are going to prompt someone that, you know, to think about what the next steps are for them. And hopefully that's going to bring them back and drive them to you for assistance. And just remember, oh, I do want to point this out. So most automations are meant and designed to kind of touch people who are going to touch folks who are already in your database. Those don't count as new leads. And our automatic text responder only goes out on new leads. So it's the only automated text that Follow-Up Boss provides. Again, we play it really safe when it comes to texting, because there's so much regulation and there's so many ways to get in hot water. So if you don't have action plans attached to your lead flow, you're generally not going to be able to get the benefit of that first outbound auto response text. Let's see, other questions. Automations that can implement a call action integration. Well, yeah, there's things that can implement call action, because call action works off tags, and Ylopo works off tags. So any integration that you have as part of your Follow-Up Boss account that works off of tags, and automation is a great way to utilize those, because it can read those tags being added to leads. If they're coming in and being, you know, if a lead is bounced through Follow-Up Boss, gone to Ylopo, been remarketed, and been come back with a tag of Y priority or indicator, instead of just falling into a smart list, you can also set up an automation to find any of those new tags and surface them back. Kind of like the one I just showed about the new leads hitting your new inquiries for an existing lead. You could do the same thing for those high value those high value touches that where a system is out there working for you. And I have to admit, personally, not very familiar with all the call action tagging and so forth, but I'm sure there's ways. But I know that there are ways because I have clients who use them, just haven't committed them to my own memory. Yeah, use automations to add tags, update information that's going to move them to a different place and a different aspect in call action, or any integration where we've got a good robust API that's going to be, sync things back both ways. Let's see.
You cover the timestamp one. You marked it. And I
I
might have been typing when you did. Sorry.
I did. Yeah, I don't. I'm not quite sure how that. Aside from making a task to add information to a custom field manually, I'm not familiar with a way that we can do that. Maybe
That's a good
Caroline
one. Did
might
you
have
get
a
that one,
brainstorm on
Caroline, by the way?
I can't see that. Did we touch on, so custom dates can be a trigger for an automation though. I'm not sure if that would solve this particular problem, but just to touch on that, we do have like a birthday automation. So the way that works, it works off of a custom field, which is the birthday field. It's an automation that runs every year. So it's based on a recurring date, and that sends out an email on the day of their birthday. So that's a good way to use dates with automations, is triggering off of one of those custom date fields. So
They wanted to log the date that it was changed. So if an automation changed a stage, they wanted to have a record that the stage was changed to nurture on, January 31st. So more a historical,
Yeah, more like
okay.
a
Yeah, we
piece of
don't
the
have
tricky but
activity.
useful.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'd be really curious to learn more about, kind of like the long-term strategy there. And, that's the kind of stuff we love to hear about. So feel free to email more, whoever posted that.
Yeah, please. Let's see. And quick question. I plan on running Facebook ads, and how can I set up action plans based on someone responding to it? Oh, okay, that's a good one. Now, technically, that would be an action plan that you can build to respond directly to a Facebook lead ad. You can create multiple action plans that may be mostly the same, but if you've got multiple Facebook ads running, you may want to create some content in each of those in an action plan that's going to correspond to that particular property or that particular campaign. And you can granulate those through your lead flow. So in lead flow, let's jump back over to this one. Under advanced settings, all Facebook ads come with a tag that indicate the campaign that they came from. So you can include those tags. Let's just pretend it's this one, investment property, and you can have it go to, you can also then customize the agent that they go to, and then you can add an action plan that corresponds directly to that Facebook campaign. And that can definitely include videos being embedded in the email templates. We do have an integration with Bombbomb, and you can create email templates that include your own Bombbomb videos. So you can certainly create an automation, or you can create an action plan for that particular purpose, but you don't apply it through an automation. You attach it to your lead flow, as then the lead coming to Follow Boss, and the tag would be the triggers that identify who should get those action plans.
And a quick pro tip on Bombbomb, if you either have it and don't have it integrated, or you've been thinking about getting it, you can integrate one Bombbomb account with your entire Follow Boss. So all your users can use one Bombbomb account. So
right.
I know some people may worry about, they have to have a team account or pay $30 for every person per month. But if you integrate it once, everybody on the account can use it.
Another pro tip, this is a little bit anecdotal. I haven't had a chance to test this myself, but Bombbomb now has an iOS keyboard. So on your iPhone, if you've got a Bombbomb account, you can actually send texts through Follow Boss, videos through Follow Boss texting. The keyboard itself enables that to happen. I mean, we're looking at ways of making video texting part of Follow Up Boss as well, but Bombbomb's keyboard kind of allows you to do that right now. That's a bonus tip.
Yeah, and I believe that's true. I've heard that too. So for what it's worth, hopefully it's true.
Let's see. In the call, Joshua says, I've tagged a lot of contacts with bad number. Is the automated communication FUB sends out supposed to be viewable to the agent on that contact's account? Yes, if the agent is assigned to the contact and you've got the communication flowing through an action plan to that contact, the assigned agent would be able to see the content of those emails. When you change someone's stage to trash, will they still leave your all people list? Okay, they do. You have to deliberately search for the stage of trash to find people in the trash. So if you are concerned about that, you know, if you're putting that as the last stage of an action plan where maybe it's long-term nurture and it goes for a whole year and there's been no response and you just want to be done with them and put them in the trash, yeah, there's a great way of surfacing those people where they're not going to go directly in the trash and become unviewable. Lee suggested earlier, and add a tag saying, you know, nurture plan ended, no contact, or something like that. And you could find them in a smart list and then put them in the trash. So it would be a little bit more deliberate action instead of an automatic action. So you don't lose them. If an action plan is running, but we revise an upcoming email, can we assume the revised email will be used for all moving forward? The answer is, Caroline, yes.
Yes.
Yes, thumbs up. Yeah, if you change an action plan structure, the revised structure will go out to all recipients, no matter when they were assigned the action plan.
Right, but just moving forward, obviously, as the question says. But.
Yeah, exactly. End task, can you change to repeat? No, but you can add the same tag or stage change. You can do the same action that started the action plan, the automation to begin with, so it would repeat. I don't necessarily approve of putting people in an endless loop, but and Caroline, is there a limit to keep for being an endless loop?
There is quite a bit behind the scenes happening to prevent like an endless loop from happening. That said, you can choose to have an automation run more than once, but there's limits in place there. But you know, you could, you know, if you change the stage to nurture and it did something, and then 10 days later you changed it back and back, like you can have it repeat, but yeah, no endless loops.
Yeah, that's actually one of the steps in the automation we haven't touched on yet. So there's reasons that you might want an action plan to run more than once. For instance, if we have a couple here, let me just go to it. Where is it? Person changed behavior and active again after 14 days. So this is a person who it's looking for a specific website action, a favorited property or a viewed property to resurface, this person back to your team. They may have fallen off the radar. They may have been in your database for months and not been converted, but here's an option to resurface them and treat them as fresh. This one's set to complete run once per person. This is something that absolutely can be changed to run automation multiple times per person. And then, then it wouldn't matter if after another 14 days, if they came back online, it would happen again. So you have the ability to make it happen once or happen multiple times on a particular lead.
And that really is, go ahead, Caroline.
So in running multiple times, that's definitely recommended for more of those task-based or note-based action plans when you're putting communication into it. And that's the reason why that one is set to run just once. You know, you don't want them to get the same email over and over.
Yeah, this is the one I was actually looking for. I didn't scroll down far enough. This one is the same type of triggers, but the action plan is a little bit different, and it does run multiple times per people because this is a shorter time frame. Last activity more than a day ago. It's looking for a short-term burst of activity. Let's see. Done. Answer live. Done. Can we use automations to assign to a particular agent, or must that occur in the lead flow? Yes. So that's from Pua. I hope I said that right. We don't have the ability to assign agents through action plans, but we might be thinking about doing that in the future. So yes, if you want to make sure that an automation is an agent is assigned appropriately, that has to be done through the lead flow. There's ways of kind of, you want to make sure that it's happening through the lead flow. You can use the advanced set and break out your leads in very particular ways if you're not doing this. For instance, if you want to granulate by geography, use zip codes, but you also want to granulate by price point. You can do both of those in the same rule so that only certain properties in certain areas are going to a certain agent or a certain team, and they can have their own action plan running on that team. And you can have multiple rules. I think I've seen upwards of 100 rules in large complex team structures where they've got lots of geography and lots of agents running lots of different properties. So yeah, your advanced rules are going to be the best way to make an action plan fire that's going to do that. Trigger auto. Pua asked another question. Triggering automation from if an agent assigns a lead to themselves in the pond. So again, an assignment isn't a trigger right now. So if an agent does reassign to themselves, it's not going to trigger, but they can also tag or update the stage on that lead if they assign it to themselves in the pond or out of the pond. And you could do that. I'm trying to think that there's something in my mind that says that, a lead manager could do this too. They could find leads that came out of the pond recently.
Be a collaborator if they were added as a collaborator.
Yeah, something along those lines. There's no perfect, I don't know that there's a perfect solution for that, Pua, but it is definitely something that you could, that we could think about. And yeah, that's a good one. Let's take that one. That's a takeaway.
I'll take it.
Me.
Caroline, sorry, we brought our wish list today.
I love it.
Let's say no follow-up, 7 days, reassign lead plan. We talked about that a little earlier, Diane. We talked about making your action plan into a clock, where if there is no inbound reply, that an action plan if it's set to pause automatically when the person is initially contacted, you really could create a really simple action plan that's just 7 days after the previous step. It gives people 7 days to respond, and then you can have something happen that moves them to another status. Is there a way to set up an automation that will update the lead source when a tag is applied? That's a good one, Thomas. The best way to do that would be a task to update the lead source.
Or a tag, and then you could bulk update them every now and then, but it's not very sexy. But I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah. Those would having a tag applied through an action plan would be a super cool step there, and they could fall into a smart list that you could update, as a mass action, once a day, once a week, something like that. Let's see. Can you use Bombbomb in your emails with action plans? Yes, Joe, you absolutely can. As long as you've got your Bombbomb integrated with Follow-Up Boss and it is under admin and integrations, a Bombbomb integration is pretty simple to set up, and you can absolutely embed those in your action plan emails. Text messaging, Pankaj, no. We do not have any other automated texting in Follow-Up Boss. That's by design. Text marketing is a complicated road to walk, and can get you in hot water pretty quickly if you aren't using it, if you aren't compliant with all the rules out there. We recommend that if you want to do automated text messaging, that you engage with one of our partners, like Call Action, who was mentioned earlier, or like at least 10 other folks that have integrations with us to do text marketing for you. Let's see, if a call is manually put in FUB from a receptionist, what would be the right automation to do?
Yeah, so
if a lead is added manually, That's a good one. If a lead is added manually, it doesn't go through the lead flow. So what would be the best way to
I would say
start
add
having
a
action
tag
plan?
or add it as a certain stage. Like if the stage is maybe like ISA added or front desk added, because then you could trigger something. Now,
Yeah.
one, I don't know if this solves the problem, but something newer that I wanted to mention is you could, depending on assignment, you could reassign that lead or have them assign that lead to a group. So I don't know if you're asking about assignment, but if you're looking to get it from a receptionist to an agent, you could possibly have them assign it to a group, and that would follow the rules of that group. So whether it's first to claim or round robin, sorry, that's kind of an advanced use. If that doesn't sound like English, then ignore what I just said. But I would say a tag is the easiest way. If you want to fire an automation based on an ISA or a receptionist adding someone manually, just tell them to apply a tag that's, added
Yeah.
manually or typed in or something like that.
Or, I mean, quite frankly, I mean, you can let your receptionist know that you have a default action plan that you want to add to all new leads. And as soon as they add the lead profile, it's a simple matter of just being on the lead profile and clicking the plus sign next to action plans too. So it's almost the same amount of action. I did to someone earlier today, and I talked about an automation being a great way. If your team has a lot of action plans in their library and you don't want to have to scroll through the list of action plans to find the right one, a tag is a much simpler way of automating an action plan being fired. So it could just be like cold lead or some, cold call or inbound call or something like that, that could automate an action plan, that default action plan. Let's see, spouse birthday. Let's go back to the date field automations again. So the calendar date can be used to set to use a trigger for any calendar date in Follow Boss. Let's chat about those calendar dates briefly. One of them is the close date in a deal. So if the close date in your deals functionality comes to pass, and it's like today, and we're going to put this right in there. Let's just do test and create that deal. If they fall into that category, you can use the automations to find that date out of your deals and start an automation right off the bat. One of the things that you can do with that is you can use that automation to update the stage of the lead. So if the close date hits, then you can, I'm jumping around too much. So the automation there would be the calendar date is the close date under deals. And let me just show you again, deals close date is like say today. Then the action plan could be update the stage, and the stage is the stage of the lead. And you could start an action plan, and you could start additional action plans. So we actually have, but the other date triggers, let's just go back in. The date triggers are all the other date fields live in your custom fields. So if you aren't using date fields in your custom fields, two already come with your Follow Boss account if you're new to Follow Boss, or maybe you haven't tinkered with custom fields very much. Two are already in there. Birthday is in there and close date are in there. And you can use those right out of the box with an automation because they're set up appropriately. But if you want to set up other custom fields that capture those particular dates, a couple of things need to be in place on a custom field to work that way. First of all, it has to be the date custom type of custom field. There's 4 types. And from what I see this pretty often is when someone adds a custom field to hold a date, sometimes they'll just use it as a text field and they type the date in as free text. Don't do that. Use the date field because first of all, you get a calendar popping up that lets you choose the date. It's a lot easier than typing it. And the other thing is you get a persistent reminder. And if you set it up as a date type, it also will help fire an automation. So if you have a spouse birthday custom field already, hopefully it's set up as a date field. And then yes, you can use it as a trigger. And then the birthday custom field is fun. I will, the birthday action plan, it's one email. It's this awesome dog that Caroline found this GIF and popped it in there, but it is 100% customizable. You can put your own GIF in and so forth. You can
Or
even use
Bombbomb video. That's a really good one to replace.
Yeah, exactly. If you have a Bombbomb account, this would be a great way to add a, you know, your own smiling face in here instead of a bouncing dog. But you can also add more steps. Let's say, for instance, you didn't just want to send an automated email. This is a great place to add tasks saying, hey, give this person a call, give them a text. Or you can make, or the other side of this is something that I've helped a few teams do, is I've gone to, whoops, I've gone to the automation and I've changed the birth from birthday is today to birthday in like 7 days, which gives them an opportunity to actually do something more personalized. This is also always a place where I go to our integrations and say, hey, AM cards.
I was just going to say that.
The AM cards integration is a great thing to populate. Is a really cool subscription service where you can send cards and gifts to your clients, and you can create a task, say send card through AM cards, and since it's an embedded app, it's right here in Follow Up Boss. It lives in Follow Up Boss, and you'd be able to send the card directly. So it's another great way of using a task to help make that a more personal experience for the recipient.
Hey, Jeremy, I was just answering a question by typing, and it made me think of something interesting. Can you go back to automations and show people that if you can click on the blue number, you can see the records that they haven't run?
Let me try the standard junked up automation. Yeah, here we go. So this is our junked up demo account with lots of stuff going on. So yeah, if you click on, for instance, this one, if you want to see how many times the birthday automation is run, you click the 3, and it takes you to the smart list of who's received those birthdays.
So you know what? Let's tackle a couple more questions. I mean, I don't think we've made a dent in the questions, and that it's like they're coming and they're awesome, and I want to desperately tackle all of them. I also want to address the recording, but I have a funny feeling we just need to do another session to tackle all this, because there's still 150 people on. There's a bajillion questions, people asking about the recording. Jeremy, if you want to tackle maybe 1 or 2 more questions on the recording, I'll tackle the recording. We'll tackle maybe 2-3 more questions and then wrap for today, but certainly be back. The recording, we always stream live to the Follow Up Boss Success community, so you can always get the recording there. Recordings go out in the Friday emails as well, and they're also on the Follow Up Boss YouTube channel, which you should subscribe to if you're not already a subscriber.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll drop a link in the chat.
Yeah, let's do another session. There is so much out here, and we didn't even have a chance to have anyone join and say this is the cool stuff we're doing.
Yeah, I was looking forward to that.
Yeah, next time when we do a repeat session, I want raised hands saying, let me tell you about what I'm doing. That's really, you know, part of this office hours is that we want this to be interactive. We want to bring you into the conversations and bring you in. So yeah, we answered tons of stuff, but let's do another one.
March 4th, part 2.
Okay, awesome. I love it. So yeah, a couple of last questions, and then we'll dive out for today. Let me find a couple of good ones. Does Wailopo's Raya work with Follow Up Boss for automation? Not directly, but you can certainly build off of each other. It's a kind of a coordination tool. Raya's work is going to be more direct that way, and automations can do tons of other stuff to help you stay, to help you build your one-on-one, your other outreach that you're doing. You know, making sure that you're calling, making sure that you're, reaching out appropriately to build a relationship. Let's see. We talked about Facebook leads, Catherine. We talked about that earlier. You can, if you missed it, you can check out the recording for more information. If the notification has the lead's phone number and email address in the same line, Thomas, well, that's a more technical question. Let's see. And when a tag is added to a follow-up boss contact from someone who's returned to your site, automations don't seem to fire. Is there something I may be missing? So if the tag is coming in through, that would be a new inquiry, and it can certainly be added. If as long as the tag is captured in follow-up boss, Stephen, then it should be able to be used as, and it should be able to be used as a trigger. So if that's not something that's working, let's get you, that's a good question to take to our support team to see if we can troubleshoot why that may not be working. All right, cool. I think there's a lot of a lot of other good questions in here. Some of them don't really, not really what we're chatting about today, but we'll do what we can to get you some answers. And we're gonna have another session.
Yeah, 1 month from today, we will do part 2. So thank you guys for being on. Thank you so many people for staying on late. All your great questions. Put some of these to work, and then come back in a month and tell us your success stories. And Jeremy and Caroline, thanks for being on as always.
Thank you, Lee.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.